Years ago, I read a book, and it was a little short story about a turtle and his pond. And turtles typically they like wet, they like flowers, all these different things. But in the autumn, they start settling down and they go to sleep. So this turtle just loved his environment. He was out in, I'm not gonna say Arizona, but he was out by the beach. He had a pool, all that good stuff. And so he settled down. And so he went to sleep. Well, guess what happens? Someone comes into his territory. Well, they thought that area was gorgeous too. So they surveyed the land. Well, they cut the trees down and they built a dam. Well, think about it. They built a dam, so that meant the ecosystem changed. And the person, which was a beaver, went to sleep. Well, when it was spring, the turtle woke up and he could not find his way out of the bottom of the pond to get out because his opening was no longer there. Things had changed. And he's like, what is this? So he finally gets through and he's like, what happened to my beautiful land? Well, about that time, the beaver woke up. And it was like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? All righty. So this is my land. No, this is my land. So we're going to race and see who gets to the other side of the pond first. So the beaver knew that he was going to win because he got big, broad arms. He's going to swim faster. The turtles, steady wins the race. Well, they took off. The turtle was keeping up, but then he got tired. He's like, I can't give up my space. This is my home. I'm not going to accept LaWanna. So he decided, as he saw the beaver's tail going back and forth, he grabbed hold of it. The beaver's tail is all furry, so he doesn't realize it. But he realized he was getting tired. He was heavier, but he didn't know what was happening. So he's looking around. So he's still swimming, swimming, swimming. Well, the turtle is riding now, and so the beaver sees the shore, and it's like, oh, it's almost there. So he took a big swing and he threw his tail because he's going to make that last drive to get there first. Well, there went the turtle. And the turtle is on the other side when the beaver gets there, and it's like, you got to go. And I share that story with you because the turtle went to sleep thinking everything was great, and it was. But what happened when he went to sleep? Everything changed in his ecosystem. So then he had to deal with change. Change or transformation is a continuous process. It doesn't just stop. Everything is perfect today and it's not perfect tomorrow. As I was preparing for this, I started thinking about businesses because I know that you ladies are in the financial industry and, you develop a business plan. It's your mission, it's your purpose, it's your company's history, it's your goals. You're going to look at the competitors. You're going to look at your market first and what share you can have in which segments. But then you're going to look at your competitors because you got to analyze all of that, develop your marketing plan. Then you got to operationalize everything, your distribution, all those sorts of things. Well, I've got my plan. Does my plan change? Well, I want to think it changes because the plan that I developed today, which is 2022, is not necessarily the plan that I'm going to need in 2027. Because think about all the changes that are going to occur between 2022 and 2027. Well, let's back it up and let's look at it in real time. We're in 2022. What changed in 2020? Well, we had COVID. But how did industries operate prior to 2020? How did churches operate? A lot of industries had to take their online business and they had to expand it in order to maintain their businesses. And I'm not talking just mom and pop. I'm talking some of our large retailers. They increased their online business profile. Likewise, churches and other institutions and organizations, they had to modify how they did conferences, professional associations had to modify that. Churches came online. Well, again, that may not have been in their 5 or 10 year plan, but they had to change because of the life circumstances that everyone was experiencing. So when we talk about transformation or we talk about change, you can think of it from a business perspective, but really that's what life is all about. It's about changing. And so when we look at that, you always have to remember where you were. You have to recall those things as they were, but then you're always trying to understand it. So when I'm working with folks who are saying, okay, I want this goal, I want to achieve this goal. Okay, you told me what the goal is. So my thing for them is, let's start at the beginning. What is it that brings meaning to your life? Because meaning to your life can be equated to what is the bottom line for that company. What is that? Is it good customer service? Is it a quality product? Some products are quality, but then sometimes we look at the bottom line and we have to adjust the level of quality, meaning that sometimes we have to take some of our inputs and we have to reduce the quality of them, which then impacts the overall quality of that out of the final product. So that's life. So what is it that brings meaning to your life? So once we begin to recall that, we're now in a remembrance phase. Now, when we're talking about personal life, sometimes it's like, I don't remember. You don't remember? No. So we have to go back to those whimsical times where I think about Disney. You know, I want a place where everybody just feels great all the time, the most fabulous place in the world. Well, think about that. That is such an abstract thing, but he was able to get other people to catch on to his vision and understand what it meant to be, I'm going to say it this way, a child where everything was fabulous. And then to understand that this is something that's not just for children, adults need that also. They need that space, that safe space where they can just feel life and enjoy life. Well, again, remembering there are things that point us towards our goals. What is that? What is it that you're trying to achieve? But you have to go back and remember what that is, but then you have to understand it. Understand how messaging, be it social media, be it things that our parents may have said to us, colleagues may have said to us. It could have been competitors. It could have been individuals, competitors meaning in business and personal. It could have been industry mates. Oh, it's going to be hard for you to get some of that market share because such and such company has that locked down. What do the messages say to you? How does that impact you and then your goal or your vision for achieving something? So when we begin to think about it, everything that we do in life is really transformative and it's all about changing. I think the quote is that necessity is the mother of invention. We're constantly reinventing ourselves. Now, some people would say to me, but am I really doing that? Yeah, you are. If I were to talk about this from a health perspective, the doctor says, I'm not going to be me. Well, I can let this one be me. The doctor says, you've got Graves' disease and we're going to radiate your thyroid and it should be better. We radiate my thyroid and we've got that good, but we can't control the weight. So what are we going to do now? Because the message was we take care of the thyroid issue, everything is going to be great. But that's not exactly what happened. I want value in my life. So how do we now bring value back to my life now that we've dealt with the chronic illness? Well, then we go through all these different stages. We're going to try this, we're going to try that. So, and I always go back to the pros and cons. We could try this, but this is going to speed up your heart. But we don't want to speed up your heart. We could try this, it didn't work. We can try this, it didn't work. So again, you're working through possible solutions that are going to add value to your life. So then we ultimately, land on, for me, we're going to do sleeve surgery. Okay. So I'm working multiple ways, guys. So work with me. Even with sleeve surgery, we're going to do a SWOT. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? It's the same way in business. It's the same way when it comes to changing some aspect of your life. If I'm looking at my strengths, what are my resources? What are my financial resources? What are my physical, intellectual property resources? What are my spiritual resources? What are my support systems? Because all of that is important when you're making any type of change. You could be changing from career. Okay, what do you have in place to support that? Weaknesses. Where do I lack? Where can I grow at? Is there some place that I'm vulnerable? What processes can I improve? If we look at it from a health perspective, am I really going to have to drink water? As Marva would say, yes, you need to drink water. Or am I really going to have to exercise? As Marva would say and Jacqueline would say, yeah, you're going to need to exercise a little bit. Because as my doctor said to me, an older gentleman said to me, he said that he started swimming, Barbara, probably when he was in his 40s. And he swims now. He said what he didn't realize he needed to do was work on his flexibility. He's not a heavy gentleman, but it's his flexibility that he's now realizing as he's getting older, that's where he's being compromised at. So again, when we're looking at, do I have to do this? Is it really going to benefit me? Is this an opportunity? Yes, it may be an opportunity. And you have to then look at, okay, SWOT. Is SWOT just for business? No. We're looking at our strengths. We're looking at our weaknesses. We're trying to determine what our opportunities are, what skills, what abilities that we can refine. Who can you partner with? Are there new technologies that are going to support your goals? What's needed? Has my audience changed? Have I changed? Because oftentimes we change also, but we don't realize that as I evolve, I'm going to interface with my audience differently. Is that the way my audience wants me to interface with them? I'm going to interface with my colleagues differently. Is that going to work? I'm going to interface with my mate differently. Will that work? It may not. But that's the evolution of change. It never stops.
Educate, encourage, empower, transform. As much as we wish for more of the same, we long for something different. Our journeys are comprised of small steps moving us from daydreams to reality. The measure of a person is to understand life lessons and use them to fuel their future. DQ Consulting, LLC specializes in fusing your ideas and life lessons to help you create your desired future if you don't quit. For consulting, coaching, and mentoring, visit AskDrTaz.com and contact author, talk show host, motivational speaker, coach, media personality, and home cook, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, better known as Dr. Taz, at drtastronger@gmail.com.
DQ Consulting.
DQ Consulting, LLC.
If we just stopped this moment, I'm reminded of Nichelle Nichols that we lost recently. And I'm a Trekkie. So, I think of Uhura. If she had stopped, I think I've read several times where she wanted to leave Star Trek. And Martin Luther King said, you cannot. We need you there. You show the world, and I'm paraphrasing, Guy, you show the world something different. And she stayed. She wanted, I think, go off to Broadway. She stayed there. And she became a role model, another hidden figure who said for women, Black and white, all races, that women could have a career in NASA, in going to the moon. But what if she had chosen to stay stagnant and didn't change the way she was thinking about where she was? She didn't necessarily see, perhaps at that moment, the impact that she was having, but she surrounded herself with people who could say, no, we need you here. So again, the idea of change, I change one time and that's it. No, I think about Elon Musk and his cars, the electric vehicles. If he had just said, oh, I'm going to do this, and this is the best car I can turn out. Now he's got competition. Will his vehicle always be the best vehicle, e-vehicle? No, because now we have lots of car industries, companies who are now building electronic vehicles. You just can't get to a place and say, I've arrived, because that hurts you It hurts those around you because as I think about the older folks, and I'm from the South, guys, they talk about the children are listening and the children are observing you. You're setting a pattern for them that says, oh, I've done this. That's it. I don't have to do anything else. Our country is built upon need. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention. So threats, what are the obstacles? Is it the fear? And what if it is fear, what's causing that fear for me to move forward? Is it how I perceive my competitors in business, personal, spiritual? What is it that has me immobilized? When it comes to fear, I think about all of the things that go into who we are as individuals. I look at it from multiple levels. There's our DNA, who we are. Our DNA is our DNA. So if I'm Black, for my ethnicity, I'm Black. That's who I am. But my personality, you see personality traits in babies. You can see them in toddlers. So that's who I am. But also it's my environment. How does my environment impact my willingness to take chances? Is it that the education level of my parents? Is it my education level? Is it my family systems and the roles that individuals play? Does that influence my ability to be willing to take chances? Is it my profession? Is it that I've done jobs that don't align to my education? Or is it that I don't feel that I have the education to do the work? There's still those environmental influences. Then we have to look at, and I can't leave geographic out, whether I'm talking zip code or I'm talking about regions of the United States or abroad. How does that geographical location impact who I am? Then we have to look at relationships, people who have a position of influence with us. Do I have a position of influence? My reputation could be such that I can't make the change because I can't allow people to know that I really don't have everything together. So I'm not willing to be vulnerable. Is it, that feeds into my style, my image, my appearance, the social network? Is it the stressors that I don't want to allow people to realize that I have stressors in life also? Those are the relationships. And then we look at the legacy events. We look at, or I think about it now, 9/11 changed how it changed our whole world. If you think about it, particularly in the United States, we weren't doing TSA. We didn't have TSA check-in. That changed. You started seeing more equipment. I'm not going to try to name it, but when you're going in and out of buildings, securities, things started to shift. If you think about the unfortunate legacy of the school shootings and how things have changed as it relates to educating our P-12 students. If you think about the pandemic and how it has changed things and what will be the outcome of that as relates to legacy events for all of us at our age, but think about the children. What are going to be the legacy events that then fall from there? Then you look at personal events. Is it the way I was brought up, who raised me? Is it trauma that I may have experienced? Then we look at political things that have happened throughout our history, assassinations, even the 2 impeachments that we had during the last administration. What do those things mean for us? And of course, 9/11. How does that change who we are? And how do you then look at, when you roll that into everything that's happening with a person, from the individual level, from the environmental, from the relationship, from the legacy, is it no wonder that it's hard to make changes, lasting changes? Because as soon as you think you've embraced the change, built a network, you got teammates, you find that things are not always as solid as you thought they were. And that happens when we begin to analyze all of the parts of our life, everything that goes into the decision making. Why did I decide to do this? Why did I decide to do that? Once we begin to chart those things, we're able to ultimately begin to infer why things happened the way they did, and perhaps predict what may occur with us if I make this decision and do this. Because ultimately, we have to get to a place where we understand and accept that we are responsible for our decisions. It's no one else's responsibility. We make decisions. We have to be responsible for them. It's when we see large companies, they do layoffs. Well, they're responsible for that decision. It's up to the employees to then make decisions that's going to benefit them on a personal level, and that's going to benefit their families. So again, change and this idea of, can I just do it one time? Can I just make my bed, and if I'm the turtle, go down and sleep in the mud and just have a good season of sleep? No, because it happened like that for probably 4 or 5 years. But then that one time, somebody moved in on him while he was taking his winter sleep. So no, it's about different beliefs. It's about different attitudes. It's about remaining responsible for who you are, and then evaluating how your life, how your circumstances impact everything. And then we get to a place where we are able to create, because we've got all this knowledge now, we're able to create the life that we want, be it from a business perspective, spiritual, physical, personal, career. But also, even with that, remember, it's a cycle. It's that life cycle. It's constantly changing. So ultimately, you're going through this process over and over again. And if we think about it, and we think about it from our work, because I know you ladies are LaWanna's in finances. If you think about it, it's like an operating software. If you were an underwriter, or if you were a mortgage broker, you're constantly going through this process. It's the way that it's the pattern, it's the operating system that you use to do your work. Well, our life is the same way. It's an operating pattern that we choose to use. Now, our effectiveness is determined by how accurately and how consistently we apply the process. If we don't apply it consistently, we can't hope to get consistent results or the results that we're wanting. But it's all about living and understanding that software, whatever your quote unquote software is, it's constantly changing. And ultimately, we're a work product. We're a work product for ourselves, for our community, and for the world. And we're ultimately trying to change to be the best person that we can, so that we can impact those around us.
Educate, encourage, empower, transform. As much as we wish for more of the same, we long for something different. Our journeys are comprised of small steps moving us from daydreams to reality. The measure of a person is to understand life lessons and use them to fuel their future. DQ Consulting, LLC specializes in fusing your ideas and life lessons to help you create your desired future if you don't quit. For consulting, coaching, and mentoring, visit AskDrTaz.com and contact author, talk show host, motivational speaker, coach, media personality, and home cook, Dr. Teresa A. Smith, better known as Dr. Taz, at drtastronger@gmail.com.
DQ Consulting.